Pen to Profit, and today I want to talk a little bit about the two very different schools of marketing there is out there, and the one that we follow and why we follow it and how they came to be, before I get into all the juicy stuff about how to write copy and how you can too become $1 million copywriter. So let's get into that. So have you ever seen a commercial on TV? And it's those fancy commercials, very creative, with a lot of different stories behind it and very flashy cinematics and all this bells and whistles. And then ask yourself, what are they even selling here? I have no idea what this brand is selling in this advertisement, in this commercial. They are just running this very creative ad, but they don't even talk about their product. How do they even sell their product through that? Like, how do they even make sales when they're having those very creative type of commercials and not even mentioning their products? And if you ever wonder that, I'm sure you have seen a bunch of those commercials on TV. I'm going to give you the answers for that right now. First one, it doesn't have anything to do with their products. They don't mention them. And second, they don't know how they make sales. They literally don't know how many sales they get out of those advertisements and if it converts well, and they cannot compare to the last advertisements they had to know which one converted better of all of those advertisements they're running on TV, they're running on Facebook, on YouTube, on newspaper, whatever it is, whatever the medium is, when they run those very creative type of advertisements, their goal there is what we call brand awareness. It's a branding campaign. They want people to know about their brand, whatever it costs, even if that means that people don't know what their product is, people don't know what they sell, people don't know what they sell their product for, at what price point, what are the benefits, what are the features. That doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is getting as many people out there to see their commercials and to know their brand. And they do that through those very creative, cinematic, beautiful commercials that don't have any direct correlation to sales. Now, what we do here is very, very different from that. As I said, you don't really need to be a very creative person to work in this industry. What you need is to follow the proven frameworks. And always our goal when following those proven frameworks, our goal when writing copy is to get a sale. And that type of advertising really started to get traction on the 60s, a long time ago, decades and decades ago. There in New York on Madison Avenue. It's a famous avenue because of the advertisement firms they have there. And back on the 60s, if you ever watch the TV show Mad Men, they portrayed that era very well and they show what happened during those meetings and during those times and how they work with clients. And it's very cool to see how different is the approach from back then to the approach that we have right now when it comes to advertising, which is, again, a very creative approach, very brand awareness focused type of approach. And back then it was a very sales focused approach. And that's what we do here with copywriting today. We want to get the sale above it all. In fact, one of the biggest titans of this industry was a guy called David Ogilvy. He used to run an advertisement agency back in the days on the Madison Avenue. He was the top dog for copywriting, for direct response marketing, and he passed away decades ago. But the advertisement firm he used to have is still on to this day, still runs to this day, and has a very famous video, a very famous saying that is titled, "We sell or else," which is all about how the creativity was killing advertising back in the 60s already. Now it's way, way worse. But back in the 60s, he has noticed that the more creative, the more original an advertisement was, the more unknown the variables that you have on it were. And back in the 60s already, he started to notice that the more creative an advertisement would get, the less correlation it would have with you getting more sales. So he says that creativity is a very dangerous word because creativity is directly linked to originality. And the problem here is that we don't want to be original. We want to do what is proven to work. That's why I always preach about the proven structures. If you follow the proven structures, your copy is gonna work. Now, if you try something new that hasn't been tested before, you don't know if it's gonna work or not. So having original ideas here is not necessarily a good thing. You can test original ideas, that's fine. Once you have tested what works and you know exactly how it works in your business, and then you wanna try something new, that's the time to test something original. But if you're not at that point yet, you want to stick to proven concepts, to proven structures, and to proven frameworks. So instead of being very creative or original, the school of copywriting that we follow, the school of marketing that we follow is all about having logical arguments. It's also about speaking to people on an emotional level, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. But all of that happens when you speak to people logically and you give them logical arguments to why your product's better, to why it makes sense to buy your product at the price point it is, and to what are the benefits of your products, and all those little details that create a sale. Because at the end of the day, every single sale, whatever that is, for a shoe or for a $10,000 watch, they all are made the same way. Sales are made emotionally and then justified with logic. So you cannot just expect to sell people with emotion by having a very beautiful and touching trailer, impactful trailer. That does the job when it comes to the emotional part of it, but it doesn't do the job when the logical part comes to hand. Because people take decisions emotionally and they justify their decisions with logic. And that's why it's very important for us to have the logic part here. And again, I'm gonna show you exactly how to use the logic part. But it's very important for you to understand that we have a duality here between creativity and being original versus having a very logical argument that gets the sale. And we always lean to this side of having the logical argument and create an airtight case as to why your logical argument makes sense and as to why people should buy your product now. That's our school advertising. It's called direct response advertising. Going back to David Ogilvy, back in the days, he used to have his very famous advertising called the Man in the Hathaway shirt. And they used to run those ads on newspapers back in the days. And what they used to do, instead of having a one big page newspaper ad that looked like an ad with all those pictures, telling the price and everything, they would have newspaper ads with a picture as well, for sure, but then look like an article from the newspaper. So they use this native format advertising to convince people to buy through their words, through the text they had in there. So if you search for the Man in the Hathaway shirt, you're gonna see it's a man wearing a shirt, which is the shirt you're selling, and he's also wearing an eye patch. And the reason he's wearing an eye patch is because that is what we call the pattern interrupt. It grabs people's attention. When it comes to copywriting, we have a bunch of formulas. The most known one is what's called AIDA. So it's AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. And we know that the first thing you need to do is to grab people's attention. In order for them to take action at the end, they first need to have a desire. In order for them to have a desire, they first need to have interest in your product. And in order for them to get interested in your product, you need to grab their attention first. And that's what the pattern interrupt does. And we have a bunch of techniques to do that. I'm gonna show that later. But in the 60s already, they knew that they had to call people's attention first, and then they have to create this text that creates interest on the product they're selling, and then turns that interest into desire, and that desire gets people to take action. And that's why you're gonna see that every single text that we write here, we always have what we call as a call to action at the end. It's not a brand awareness campaign where you're just trying to get people to know your brand and know what you do. No. It's always trying to get people to take action. So always at the end of our communications, we're gonna have a call to action, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to follow the structures. But it's very important that we always judge our results not based on how many people saw our ad or not based on how many people were reached, but on how many people took the desired action at the end of the ad or the email or the tweet or the sales video or whatever the format is. We're always looking for a response, and that's why what we do here is called direct response marketing, direct response copywriting, and that's the school we follow. It's not branding, it's not being creative. You don't need to be creative, you need to follow the proven structures, and that's what I'm gonna teach you how to do now on the